32 years practicing in New Paltz. Now, actually, it was 30 years this April that I opened up the office here.
Wow.
And I did not know about any of this until about 3 years ago. It was just foreign.
Wow.
And the role that chiropractic has played in mental health in the past. So we're going to be talking, we're going to get an overview about how chiropractic, why physiologically it affects our mental health. And then we're going to go take a trip down memory lane, all right, to see the role that chiropractic has played over the years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first question, I always start a lot of these workshops with the question is, what is health?
Oh.
What is health to you guys?
I think it's just like feeling good, being able to do the things that you want to do.
Freedom, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Feeling good. What does feeling good feel like?
Yeah, I guess it's different for everybody, right?
Absence of pain, sense of positive energy, ability to sleep well,
Right?
a sense of being well fed.
Sense of right. You feel like you're I understand. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So energy, freedom, sleep well. So that's meaning relaxed, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite ways of describing health, descriptions of health, is the ability of an organism to adapt to its environment, to its internal and external environment.
Mm.
So it's our ability to live in the world,
Yeah.
right? And to deal with all the stressors and everything that comes our way. So when we talk about mental health, what are we talking about?
The same principle. You go ahead, Allison.
This is like your ability to like cope with stress,
Yeah.
or how you handle like your environment, I guess.
Yeah, how we are in relationships, right? How we deal with the people around us, how we deal in our work environment, in our family environment, right? How we deal with change. As we all know, life has changed, right?
Yeah, how we feel about ourselves as well.
Yeah. We're admitting Jennifer. How we feel that, so in terms of self-esteem, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about what is mental health, Jennifer.
Okay.
How would you describe mental health? Put you right on the spot.
Feeling clear, positive, social, functioning in the world, achieving your goals, something like that.
Yeah. When you're talking about health is the ability of an organism to be able to adapt to its environment. So all of those things are in that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All right. So this is just something that I found very, very interesting. That they found there was such high levels of antidepressants in the water in the Great Lakes that they were finding it in fish tissue.
Wow.
All right. So what that's letting us know is that there are a lot of people taking these things that's actually flushing out into the water.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This says 12% of American adults have filled antidepressant prescriptions.
Wow.
So it's what we're talking about. There's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
There's a problem. What's that? So it's very interesting. My wife is a high school guidance counselor, and she says the amount of anxiety and depression she's she's been a high school guidance counselor for about 20 years now. And she says she just can't believe the difference in the amount of anxiety and depression that she's dealing with kids every day. That it's almost normal. And it's very rare, I find, when I get somebody in their 20s who almost every single time they have anxiety. They deal with anxiety every freaking single time. So it's almost like, you know, there's a whole generation of people who are going to be adults soon who just, for whatever reason, maybe it's the social media, or I don't know what is going on, who aren't able to adapt and respond, aren't able to deal with stress enough. This was something they found out with kids on Ritalin. You know, kids who were described as hyperactive, ADD, ADHD, which when I was actually in 3rd grade, my teacher wanted me put on Ritalin. And my dad was a pharmacist, and he said, no effing way. So, you know, yeah, he wouldn't let her do that. Thank God. So anyway, 6.4 million children from 4 to 17 have been diagnosed with ADHD or ADD, which is a 53% increase over the past 10 years. 2/3 of them are on Ritalin and Adderall. And the side effects of these drugs, right? It could be addiction, anxiety, and psychosis. And something else we're going to see for a second. There was a study shown that they looked at kids on Ritalin and they saw chromosome, it was affecting their DNA in a way that it was increased risk of cancer.
Wow.
And I just heard on the news, I don't know if you're going to talk about this, that college kids now are taking, as like we used to have caffeine, they're taking Ritalin
Right.
to
Adderall.
perform.
Yeah.
That really frightened me.
So there's kids who have you know, have a prescription and they're giving it to the other kids, you know, and it acts as a speed. You know, for a kid who has ADHD, they take that stuff and supposedly it calms them down. So anyway, so 2/3, which is 4.2 million children, are on either Adderall or Ritalin. That's a lot. 4.2 million. That's half of New York City.
Wow.
So we're talking about what is mental health. So we're going to go, you know, none of this is, I think, is going to be new for anybody here. But I'm just going to kind of review the autonomic nervous system, and this is also, you know, this is being taped, so for the people who are watching it on YouTube. So there are 2 parts to our nervous system. There's the part of our nervous system that is voluntary, right? So I'm voluntary, I could scratch my head. Then there's the other part that is involuntary, which is also called the autonomic nervous system. And that's our blood flowing and the heart beating and the food digesting. All that happens automatically, right? Now the autonomic nervous system is broken into 2 things. One is sympathetic, which is action, or could be the fight or flight, or parasympathetic, which is relaxation, rejuvenation, creativity, and love. And we want to be able to balance those 2. All right. We want to be able to do action and do something, and then be able to then go into parasympathetic and relax, and go between those things. Make sense? Does that make sense? When we have a balance of that, we're much more able to adapt and respond to the demands of life. And what we find is that a lot of people kind of get stuck more into the sympathetic, which is the fight or flight, which not only affects their health, all right, but also they're not able to relax, and they're not able to adapt and respond the same way. And we're going to discuss why. So, perspective. No one sees the world as it is. They see it as they are. Right? Does
Yep.
that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
We don't really see the world for what's really going on. We see it through our own, through our eyes, which gets warped to some degree, right? And we're all wounded. We all have, being human, right? That's what Dean said today. Being human is being wounded. We all have our wounds. We all have our things. It's part of being human, but that always will affect our perspective and affects how we perceive. So, when we have subluxations, all right, that trust is fine. So when we have subluxations, let's say we have a subluxation right here, and let's say this nerve goes to the stomach. The nerve goes to the stomach, but there's also nerves that branch off and go to the brain. And the part of the brain that they go to is called the limbic system, which is the fight or flight. It activates our sympathetic nervous system. So what happens is that subluxations not only affect, let's say, the organs themselves, but they have a global impact on the whole system, causing us to go into a fight or flight, which tightens us up more because we get tense, right? And we get stuck in this whole cycle. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me ask you, how do you think you perceive the world when you're in a fight or flight?
Dangerous.
They're fearfully.
It's dangerous. We see the world as a dangerous place instead of a safe place.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how safe the situation is, we might perceive it as being dangerous. So subluxations create an imbalance in our autonomic nervous system, affects our ability to adapt and respond, and it affects our perspective. Make sense?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Perspective. No one sees the world as it is. They see it as they are. All right, so this is really cool. So I believe it was like from 1930 through into the 60s. There was a chiropractic hospital in Denver called the Spears Hospital. And it was a 600-bed hospital. And it treated patients with many health problems, but one of the main things was mental and emotional. That's something? I never even heard of this. Now, there was a place called the Clearview Sanitarium and the Forest Park Sanitarium, and there are actually about 20 of these chiropractic sanitariums around the whole country. And they were for people with behavioral disorders, mental health problems. And the thing is that, so that's from 1926 to 1951. And at the time, how they treated people with mental health problems, that they put them in the state institutions, which was, those were the loony bins, right? They were pretty much like prisons.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you just got locked away.
Mhm.
So this was like this fantastic alternative to what most people were doing. And the thing was that insurance didn't pay for it, so people had to pay cash. People had to pay to go to these places.
Well, back then,
What's
health
that?
insur- back in those years, health insurance didn't cover mental health treatment either.
No.
Did they do any studies about any comparative studies?
Yeah.
How they did?
Yeah. Hold on. I'll show you. Oh, one of the things at Clearview is that they found that they did X-rays of most of their, or they did X-rays of their patients, and they found that there was a decrease of space between the occiput, which is the back of the head, and C1.
Huh.
Right where the limbic brain is.
Right.
Wow.
So this was one study done at a place called Jamestown State Insane Asylum, right? This was in 1935. 44 people were adjusted. 27 recovered to the point that they were able to go back home and go back into their life out of the 44. The
Oh.
majority of those
That's amazing.
27 had been deemed incurable.
Hmm.
Wow.
Now, this is really interesting. This was in North Dakota, and this judge found out about this, and he made it mandatory for all the inmates in North Dakota jails to be adjusted by chiropractors.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not current information though. That they're not doing that now.
No. And I'll explain what happened. So, actually, this is something that just happened recently. So, you know the little clicker I use? Turn your head to the right, turn your head to the left. That's torque release technique. And hey, Aubrey, what are you, a baby? So that's torque release technique. And it was first developed by a chiropractor who owned this addiction center down in Florida. And they had 150 addicts in the study. Now, usually when people go through these rehab programs, maybe 50% finish the program. You know, people drop out. So in this study, they had 50 people with no adjustments, 50 people with make-believe adjustments, sham adjustments, and 50 people with real adjustments. The usual attrition rate was 60%. 99% of the patients who are actually adjusted stayed through the whole program.
Wow.
That's very impressive.
99% of the patients who got the real adjustments?
Yeah, stayed in the program, didn't leave.
Wow.
And that was just off of chiropractic work, like not like any kind of medication, therapy.
No. Well, I guess they probably all were doing groups and stuff because they do that in the rehab.
Oh yeah.
Everybody, you know, all 150 of them were getting everything. The only difference was that 50 of them got real adjustments with the clicker. And of those 50, 99% of them stayed through the program.
Wow.
All right.
Mm.
So, you know, the question is, so the reason why those hospitals all ended up dying out? You know, they don't have those chiropractic mental health hospitals anymore. And the story is that originally chiropractic was not about back pain.
Mm.
It was about all of these things we're talking. It was about health. And chiropractors were not back pain doctors. And what happened is that the chiropractic organization sold out so we can get insurance. So we'd be on insurance. So the only way we could be on insurance is if we were treating back pain. Right?
Mm.
So all of that other stuff that chiropractic did just kind of like, it just disappeared.
That's
That was
sad.
basically it.
Mm.
That's really sad.
It is sad. I wish we didn't have insurance. I wish chiropractic, you know, like people, oh, it's great that you use your insurance and everything. It really hurt the profession. So this is a video that I'm going to share with you guys. It's just about 5 minutes, all right, and then we'll be done. Okay. This is a great story. Can you hear it?
No.
Hold on. would be sad. Anyway, that's sad because it's such a great. Hold on 1 second. Let me see. One second.
What is our youngest participant in our workshop?
You can never be too young to start.
Sorry, man. You can't hear it, right?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
Echo.
Oh, no.
My wife, given every medic, but nothing would do anything.
I'm
I
sorry.
watched him constantly go through manic episodes and depression
He's talking
for
about his father.
years at a time. I never knew what normal was for my father. And Dr. Curry taught me about Clearview Sanitarium, which was a chiropractic sanitarium back in around 1910. It was around for about 35 years. They actually had multiple sanitariums that they would adjust people and get them well from mental illness without any drugs. Top 3 patients that they had were paranoid schizophrenic, bipolar disorder, and depression. So I went home and checked his atlas, and when I was assessing him, his atlas was way off on the right. And every 3 hours, I would check his atlas. Every 3 hours for a 4-day period, I adjusted. 2 months later, I was back working, and Dad came up here on a train, 17 hours one way, to be here for my wedding. As soon as I picked him up, I said, "What drugs did he have you on?" So I couldn't believe how well he was doing, and he had not traveled that far in over 25 years. And he said it was the adjustment. I was like, "You're out of your mind. There's no way." I sat back and I watched him the following day. He was having a conversation with one of my best friends. And I was waiting for the shoe to drop. I was waiting for him to say something lewd or out of context, which is typical. You know, he's going to say something that he shouldn't have, something that was inappropriate, but nothing. Just waiting for it. He was there. He was present. He was in the moment. And he went home. And the following year, I took him to a pirate game. So I organized it. We go to Pittsburgh. Right before we leave, he pulls me aside and he's shaking and says, "I can't do it." And I was like, "What do you mean you can't do it?" And um, he said, "I can't go." And I said, "Yeah, you can. I know what to do." So adjusted his Atlas, and I sat behind him. And, I was watching him. All he was doing was looking around, looking up. And he wasn't watching the game. He was looking around. I'm like, "What the hell are you looking at?" He wouldn't. I just said, "Whatever." He's not making excuses. He's not running. He's sitting here, so he's with us. The next day, I went to him and I said, "How'd you like the game?" He said, "It was beautiful." And I said, "Focus on the game," because he said it was just so amazing. He would take everything in. He said, "As long as I live, I'll never forget that." This is something that medicine could never give me. Chiropractic gave me that moment, that moment with my father, and my profession failed because nobody told me about Clearview. No one told my father about Clearview, and we don't have a loud enough voice. So I'm not going to fail my profession, and what I do is I'm going to have a loud voice, and I'm going to recreate Clearview with every adjustment that I make. Every single one. You're reconnecting them. You're making them a better version of themselves. They don't even know it. They can come in with back pain, and I'm adjusting them to clear their head so that they're a better parent, a better spouse, a better friend. It's not even about their back pain. I don't even care if they believe it, because I know it. It's not even about what their belief is. They don't have to believe in gravity. It just works. It's just the number one thing. The first and the only thing that you should be doing, even before all this, we typically get people after all else has failed and nowhere else to turn. We still get them better. So we just have to keep at it, keep getting stronger, have a louder voice as a profession. As an individual, we all have to speak louder and just make a bigger impact.
That's beautiful, huh?
Yeah.
It's amazing how there are serious alternatives to the pharmaceutical solutions.
And I see it here all the time. We see people getting better.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely see people getting better. Thank you. Thank you for spending this half hour
Thank
with
you.
us here. And
Thank you.
I'll tell you, these workshops for me, they get me excited about what I'm doing again. And please, if you could just think of one person you think this might benefit. You could help somebody.
I have a quick question. It's funny that you bring this up, because I was just thinking this week about, I'm feeling so much better on all levels, and since I've been working with you, and wondering, is there a book that you would recommend that's written for lay people on the benefits of chiropractic on all aspects of our being?
You know what? There's one book that I love, and I used to have my CAs read it, and I haven't read it in a while. And it's written for chiropractors. Hold on. I really like this book. It's written for chiropractors, but it's very readable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called The Chiropractic Theories by Robert Leach.
Okay, thanks. I'll try to get it.
I'm going to read it
Wow.
again. I haven't read it in many years.
Leach.
Leach.
The chiropractors what?
The Chiropractic Theories.
Oh, okay.
I think this is it. I hope this is it.
All right.
Don't buy it until I go over and make sure this is the right book.
Oh, I was gonna see if I get it from the library anyway.
They probably wouldn't have this in the library.
What?
They probably wouldn't have this in the library. Let me
Oh.
make sure this is the book. This might not be.
Okay.
While I'm looking at it, I don't think this is it.
Oh, okay. Let me know
All
anyway.
right.
I'll see you
Yeah, there's
tomorrow.
not a lot of. Let me ask around. I have some books, but all they are is kind of case stuff, like people writing about stories of people.
Hmm.
What do you call that? When people testimonials. I have like books filled with testimonials, and I have them here. I'll be happy to give them to you.
Hmm.
You know,
I was kind of thinking just as a adjunct to working with you so I can understand on a knowledge level the ways it's benefiting me.
Sure.
I mean, I feel it's benefiting me, but it can also be useful. I'm a big reader and
right.
sometimes
So you like to understand things more intellectually and stuff.
some in addition, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I get that.
yeah.
Yeah, let me ask around.
All right, thanks.
Let me ask around. I actually saw something in a yard sale the other day that I picked up. And I'll see. It might be perfect.
Good.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. And have a wonderful night.
you.
Enjoy the weather. Our air conditioning is working.
All right. Night, night.
Bye,
Thank you.
thanks.
All right, thank you.
Bye.